and I will make it so. Fortunately, you are here, so you're able to follow along. But for the other students that are not present, I'll make the recording available. And I'm going to do that for every collab that we have, which is on a weekly basis. I will generally post the link to the collab on my YouTube channel via an announcement the next day. Right, so just bear with me for about a day until I load it and get the link ready. So by the next day, you should have that link. All right, so I'm going to start by sharing my screen. And if you don't see it, please do let me know. My screen. Okay, I'll tell you when I started to share. Just pour it on. All right, so can you see my screen, my VC Learn right now, which I have? You should see something that says Create Session Introduction. If you don't see it, please just give me a heads up. All right, so let me see the chat. Seems everyone's good to go. All right. Okay, so firstly, the two things you need to get access to as soon as possible, if you don't have access already, one is your textbook. Okay, so make sure you have your textbook with you. And secondly, your calculator. All right, those two things you must have. So going forward, pretty much for every single collab session that we have, you'll need those two at your disposal. All right. For calculator, I recommend getting the Casio calculator. I think it's the FX series. If you do have that one, fantastic. The Sharp isn't too great, and I'm going to explain in a second why. Also, because the resources to understand how to use the calculator is specifically tailored towards the Casio calculator and not the Sharp. All right, and I'll show you that in a second. So if you do have the Casio, perfect. I would recommend that you try and get access to that one. All right. So if you see on the left panel here, there's learning units. Okay, so on the VC Learn platform, if you click here, it's pretty much got material on every learning unit for this module. So this module has 9 learning units. Okay, learning unit 1 is the only learning unit that is pretty much just terminology and definitions. There's no calculations involved, so you would not even use your calculator for this learning unit. So it's pretty much theory, and I'm going to rely a lot on you to actually read through the material and just understanding it. It's not really calculations or anything like that. For every other learning unit going forward from 2 all the way to 9, I will take you through each of them with examples and calculations. All right, so to help you in your understanding with that. But for learning unit 1, I'm hoping that, and my expectation is that you will read through this learning unit, and I'll direct you to the content to follow for this learning unit. All right, so if you click here, you'll see there's learning unit 1, introduction to stats, learning unit 2, index numbers, etc. Let's just click on learning unit 1 to give you an idea. Each learning unit is generally broken down into themes. As you can see in the left panel, there's theme 1 and all its subheadings. If you click on each of them, there's very great, really good material to follow and to explain the concepts for this learning unit. So read through it. Please go through all of this. It's nothing too intense. If there's anything that you find too complex or you're struggling to understand, please let me know. Drop me an email, and I'll be happy to help. If I don't reply by an email, I'll make maybe a short video recording available on the platform that'll help you in your understanding, especially if I find more than one student struggling with the same concept. So I'd rather just put a video together and explain to everyone. All right, so do go through all the different learning units. There's great material here, and yeah, read through it. All right, so that's your learning units. Now, another important link on this platform is more resources here on the left. On the module content, if you click here, more resources, there's lots of information here, which I'm going to take you through now, and it's very important that you make use of them. All right, so in the first link, you have lecture slides. All the lecture slides are pretty much uploaded. So if you follow the links, there's lecture slides for all learning units. So you can click on them and read them on the platform, or you can download and read them on your portable device, etc. Whatever works for you. But these don't cover extensively the entire learning unit, but they do provide some sort of summary for it. So please do not use them only to understand the learning unit. All right, these are supplementary material. All right, I expect you to read through the textbook, and after every single collab that I will do with you, which I'll cover a lot of the content, I'll direct you through some exercises that you can work through to consolidate your understanding after that. Right, so we'll cover that in the collabs, but do read through your textbook. All right, don't just rely on the lecture slides. Okay, so let's go back to more resources. So that's your lecture slides. ICE activities is nothing loaded as yet, but I'm going to make 4 ICE activities available for you. They are pretty much online tests. They are self-grading. You will have more than 1 attempt at each ICE task, and the highest of that mark will be taken. All right, so 4 ICE tasks. The due date for them, we're still trying to establish that, but as soon as I know what the due date is, then I will make all 4 ICE tasks due on the same date. You'll have plenty of time to complete them, so you don't have to worry about you doing it in the last minute unless you choose to do that, which I highly recommend that you do not do that. 4 ICE tasks, they're all going to be due at the same date, and as soon as I find out what the due date is, I will make all 4 ICE tasks available. Right. Any questions so far? I'm just going to go to the chat, see if anyone has any questions. If not, I'll just continue. Nothing so far. All right. Okay. Then case studies and activities, I'll make these available as we go along in the course. There's nothing for you to go through right now. And the same for the revision folder, right? But whenever I post something new in any of these folders, I will let you know via an announcement. Just a heads up, when you're viewing your announcements, make sure you look at them on VC Learn. So don't just rely on the email, because the email doesn't show links that are on the announcements when you view them on VC Learn. So whenever you get an email with an announcement, go to the VC Learn platform and view the announcement there. You will see the links visible. All right, and that goes for even the collab links I'm going to make available. All right. So remember, I told you make sure you have your textbook available, and then make sure you have your calculator. All right. The other thing you'll need are these two, which you can download. This is your module outline and your workbook. Okay, your module outline, I'll click on it. You can see it here. I'll just give you a quick skim through what it describes, what the learning units are, the resources, etc. And it also, for your assessments, you can see it gives you the weighting for your assignment. Assignment 1 carries 25%, assignment 2 carries 30%, and your exam is 35%. So it gives you the weighting for each of your formal assessments. It tells you duration, the marks, etc. And it even tells you which learning units are covered for assignments 1 and 2. So if you look here, it tells you learning unit 1 and 2 is covered in assignment 1, whereas in assignment 2, learning units 3 to 5 are covered, and in your exam, all are covered. Remember, you will be in the exam, you will be given a choice of which learning units to choose. There are some that are essential. For instance, you may have to do learning unit 1, 2, and 3, and then after that, for the next question, you can choose between learning unit 4, 5, etc. Right? That's how the exam works. It's kind of a different structure to how it used to be about a year ago. Right? Before, you never had much of a choice. You had to just answer all the learning units or all the questions in the exam, and now you get a choice. All right, so this is your module outline. Please do read through it. It even has a pacer, which is very useful. So it tells you by what week you need to cover which specific learning units. So if you look at your module pacer, you can see this is your pacer, learning unit 1. If you scroll down here, it shows you learning unit 1. here. This is what you cover in academic week 1, and these are the outcomes for that learning unit. And then the next, it'll tell you the same thing for learning unit 2, etc. All right, so that's your module outline. Please do access this and have it, make use of it. Now the workbook contains pretty much a lot of revision questions on each learning unit. So great questions, a lot of them are quite similar to what you can be expected, what you can expect in the exam or assignments, etc. So I'll also direct you to some questions from the workbook, but don't just rely on me directing you to specific questions. You should walk through all of them. Okay, so as soon as you finish cover, say learning unit 1, go to this workbook and work through the problems in this workbook for learning unit 1. Then when you finish learning unit 2, do the same thing for the questions in learning unit 2 in this workbook. All right, so make use of this. It's very important, and it's going to help you in your understanding of the course content. All right, so let's go back to more resources. All right, so that's your module outline in your workbook made available. And remember, I told you try and get the Casio calculator. Okay, so if you click here using the calculator, this gives you a nice breakdown of how to use the different functions in your calculator. Okay, the stats function, which you need to become very familiar with for different learning units, etc. So this helps you and gives you a nice walkthrough on how to use your calculator. In the collabs, I will also do a walkthrough with you with that calculator, but it'll only be for the Casio. So I'll help you try and use it to answer questions for specific learning units. All right, so make sure, like I said, for every collab from next week onwards, make sure you have your textbook, your calculator, and the formula sheet. And I'll get to the formula sheet in a second, right? That I have made available for you. So I'd encourage you maybe to download it and or have it printed out. So if you just have one screen in the collab, then at least you have the hard copy next to you. You can refer to that. All right, so this is an additional calculator resource. You can read through it when you get a chance. All right, now final mark calculator. I've made this Excel available, right? If you click here, you'll access this Excel, right? So I'm just going to make the writing a bit larger. All right, so in this Excel, wherever you see a green block, okay, that's the mark that you would enter. Now, what this Excel does is, if you input the marks that you get for your assignments, assignment 1, 2, and your exam, for instance, it'll tell you what your final mark would be based on the weighting that you have on that module outline that I showed you. All right, so wherever it's green, that's where you need to input your marks. For the ICE marks, you can see it here. These are the green blocks. So you need to capture what marks you get for each ICE task. And then all the calculations are done for you, and you have an idea of what you can expect for your final mark. All right. So sometimes you may wonder, okay, look, I need to get a final mark of over 50%, and you haven't written the exam as yet. Okay, so you haven't written the exam as yet, and let's just assume, okay, so far it's 0. Okay, so if you are just assignment 1, 2, and you've got these marks for your ICE tasks, all right, you're currently sitting with 40%. So to get 50%, what do you need for your exam to get that? And you can just play around with the marks. So you can say 30, and you can see you get 51. All right, so that's what you would need. But remember, for the exam, even though your final mark is over 51, it's over 50%, you still need to get a sub minimum for the exam of 48%. That's why I've written it here. So you won't pass unless your exam mark is at least 48% and over. All right, so make sure you understand that. All right, you must get a minimum for the exam. Doesn't matter how high your class mark is, your minimum for the exam that is required is 48%. Okay, so I've made this available for you, and here it is, final mark calculator. You can click on it and you can download the Excel. All right, so if ever you're not sure about how to calculate your marks, this should help you. But if you're not sure, just give me a shout. All right. Now, for this course, what I need you to remember is that your learning unit numbers do not correspond to the chapter numbers in your textbook. So just because you're on learning unit 1 doesn't necessarily mean that it is chapter 1 of the textbook. All right. And if you click here, I have the mapping for you, so you know. when you need to reference it. Okay, so for Learning Unit 1, yes, it is Chapter 1 of the textbook. However, for Learning Unit 2, it is Chapter 14 of the textbook, all right, etc. Learning Unit 3, it's Chapters 2 and 3, all right? So I'm pretty sure you're going to need this, so you have an idea of what chapters correspond to which learning units, all right? Okay, so you would access that. And, okay, so that's your mapping. The formula sheet, as I mentioned, so if you click here on your formula sheet, this is the formula sheet that you would expect in your exam and your assignments. Okay, so have this printed out and have this at every single collab session that we have going forward. Okay, because we're going to use all of these formulas. By the end of this course, we will cover pretty much all these formulas. All right, so we're going to go through them and I'm going to explain to you how to use them. All right, so please download that and yeah, have it ready for you at your disposal. Yes, actually, I need to change this. It's only got one formula. Okay, but I'll make the change. But anyway, just to give you a heads up, this is where you can find it. I do need to change this formula sheet. That's odd. Okay, so that's my takeaways from the more resources folder. As you can see, it's a lot of content. So please do make use of it. But every time I post something in any of these folders, upload anything, I will let you know. Okay, the last one is downloading material. It's just an additional resource. So if you, it kind of shows you how to download necessary material and print them, etc. Okay, so you can squeeze through this if you want, but the main ones that I wanted to cover I've spoken about. All right, let me pause there for a second. Any questions, any concerns? Just a note that the PAS is not made available. Please download that from the portal, okay? And that is updated on a regular basis. I would say try to access it once a week, just in case there's changes to it and any dates. Yeah, so you'd have to, please, on your side, you'd have to download that, okay? And it'll have the dates of your exam and assignment, etc. I don't think your date of your exam would be on it as yet. It'll be there closer to the time. All right. Okay, so great, no questions so far. Nothing to scare anyone. And don't worry, there isn't anything to actually, yeah, kind of make you afraid or nervous about this course. You just got to work consistently. Okay, my advice for you is don't just rely on me to do the calculations, and then once the collab's over, you don't look at it until you come close to the time of the exam. It's something you must work through yourself, and then once you understand it like that, it really sticks with you. Okay, but you can only get that understanding by working through the problems yourself and the exercise that I give you. So when I work through, like, say, a problem in the collab, one thing I do recommend is, yes, if you've attended it live with me, perfect. If you haven't, then you're watching the recording. Watch the recording once, okay? As you're watching it, make some notes about it whenever you feel you need to make some notes. And then the second time, when you're watching that collab, just pause it when you see the problem that we're trying to solve. Try to solve the problem yourself, okay? And then let the video play and see if you're aligned to what I'm doing. And if you are, perfect, then it shows that you're understanding it. So that's my advice to you, how to make the most of these collabs, right? Okay, so that's it from my side. So now if there aren't any questions, but feel free to ask any questions. This is the homework I'm going to give you. And you need to cover this before the next collab, which is next Wednesday. So remember, every Wednesday is our collab at 6 p.m. The link, it'll be one link, which I'm going to make available, and it'll be here under, well, I'm pretty sure you know how to find it because, yeah, you're here at the session. I'm going to make a link that's going to be recurring every Wednesday at 6 p.m. and you can just join it here when you follow Class Collaborate Ultra, right? But it'll be recurring at 6 p.m. All right, so my homework for you, all right, So it's pretty much for you to get familiar with learning unit 1, which is entirely just theory, definitions, and at a high level understanding what statistics is all about. So first step is just go to learning units under module content, where you see learning unit 1, click on it and read through it. Read through the different material that you see here. It even directs you to pages in your textbook that you can read to kind of add more information. Okay, so do follow, use the online material. It's quite useful. Right, so if you read through all of it, Team 1, Team 2, learning objectives. If you click here on instructed statistics, yeah, it's some great stuff about this learning unit, right? And it just discusses what statistic is at a high level. If there's any questions on it, what I will do is I'll cover them in the next learning unit. But if they aren't, then I'll just move forward with learning unit 2, right? But so I encourage you to read through it and find anything that's difficult for you to understand. That way, you're working through it yourself, which you need to do for pretty much every learning unit, and become self-critical. Try and figure out what you're not understanding, and if you're stuck and you're getting frustrated with it, let me know. Happy to cover it in the next learning unit. But from next week, every single learning unit that I'm going to be taking you through, it's going to be calculations. So remember, have your textbook ready, have your calculator there, and your formula sheet. I will make the updated formula sheet ready after this session. All right. So yeah, I didn't want to. I know there's still some students that are trying to register and getting access to all the materials, so I didn't want to kick it off today until everyone's kind of settled in, and that'll be next week. Next week we're but yeah, pedal to the floor, and we're going for it. Okay, so there's lots of material to cover, and there's not much time. All right, so anyone worried about this course? And I just want to get people's opinion on it. What are any challenges that you foresee yourself experiencing in this module? Yeah, I'd like to know. Or maybe you're all just confident. You're looking forward to it. All good, everyone? No problem. No problem. Yeah, exactly. That's exactly what I want to hear. As you work through it, that's when you really know. So yeah, I'm glad to see that. So looking forward to it. We're gonna kick it off full swing next week Wednesday, and yeah, I'm looking forward to having you join me. And as usual, I'll make the recordings available in the next day. All right. If there aren't any further questions or anything you want to discuss, then I think we'll call it for this evening. And I want to thank you for joining and wishing everyone the best and enjoy your evening. Chat soon.